Welcome to South Omaha Speed. Got something great for you today. Some special guests came down from Lincoln, Nebraska to come see us and talk about the car. And a very special guest, we got Ed Sheperd in the house tonight, who's actually in Kansas City in 1955, who's seen the car win top eliminator that day. We're gonna talk a little bit about that. We got his boy,
Doug.
Shit. Start over. Sorry. It's okay.
All right.
Shit, I knew.
Over.
Welcome to South Omaha Speed. We got something for you special today. In the shop, we got a gentleman that actually seen the car run in 1955 in Kansas City and win top eliminator that day. So we're excited about that. We got Ed Sheperd here, who was there that day. We got his boy, Doug Sheperd, and we got their friend, Jeff Meyer, who came down from Lincoln. They all came down from Lincoln today to come see us and see the car. First time that Ed has been back with the car since 1955 and 66 years. So we're gonna get the chat rolling here and hope you enjoy it. Ed, we appreciate you coming down. Thank you so much. Tell us a little bit about what you remember that day, 66 years ago.
Yeah, I've forgotten a lot, but it was an exciting day. We were running a little Ford with a Cadillac engine in it, but this little car here had an old engine in it with, I remember the 4 two-barrel carburetors, and it set up, the carburetor set over each corner of the manifold, and it boiled down that road. It was unbelievable to everybody that was there. They'd never seen anything compare with it. It just really ran hard.
Very cool. How did your car do that day?
Pardon?
How'd your car do?
I don't remember where we placed or anything, you know. I was just a wrench turner on it. I didn't drive it.
Okay, all right, very cool. Did you guys get a chance to race this car by chance?
Huh?
Did you race this car that day? Your car?
I can't tell you for sure.
Okay,
I doubt it because theirs was a gasser,
okay,
and so they would have been in different classes.
gotcha.
But
This would have been the Ultra Coupe class, I would assume, this car?
I would say, or maybe some kind of top eliminator class. Or,
Okay. Well, it did win top eliminator that day,
Yeah,
so
so-
that makes sense. That's from my understanding. That's what happened that day.
Do you remember any other racers from Omaha that used to come down to Kansas City in that time period, or?
No, I really don't. You know, it's been you know, a long time ago. An old man mind ain't what it was.
Right,
You know, you forget a lot of things. You just, you know, you're not around it anymore.
right,
You kind of forget it.
sure. You had mentioned earlier before we started filming that you had heard about this car for many years.
well, most of my life.
Yeah, he's been talking about this car, and very cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, I told him something about it, not a lot. I didn't elaborate on it, you know.
Sure.
I didn't make it a full-time hobby.
Right, yeah, I understand that for sure.
In 1956, they had the U.S. Nationals. That would have been the second year for the Nationals, I believe, and that was in Kansas City. And you were there for the Nationals too, with your 38 Ford with the Cadillac. And you say you wrenched on it that day. And do you have any memories of the?
Not really.
The
I
race?
just kind of, they fade away.
Sure. The Cadillac was a big cubic inch though, wasn't it?
It was a nice looking car. It ran well, but it didn't run as hard as this.
Sure. How big was that Cadillac motor you guys were running?
I think it was bored and stroked about 395 cubic inch,
That's big.
and had log manifolds, 6 two-barrel 97 carburetors on it, and connecting across from one manifold to the other. They were hand-built manifolds.
Very cool. Did you guys build that up? Oh, like you help with that build, that manifold, or did you guys do that as a team, as a group, or you and your buddies?
Yeah, I didn't do a lot of things because I was kind of a junior member.
Okay, sure. Understand.
When you went to the races with your 38, did you guys tow that, or did you have a trailer built for it, or what did you use as a tow vehicle?
I believe we drove it.
They drove
Just
it.
the weight across Kansas.
They drove it all over Kansas City. He dated my mom, and the owner of the car would let him take the gasser to take her on a date.
Wow, that's cool. Very cool.
Really?
I bet her parents
I
loved it.
remember one evening we'd been out to drive in theater west in Kansas, over in Kansas, and we'd been to the drag strip the day before, and we didn't have anything left but high gear. And this guy wanted to challenge me for a drag race, of course, and I didn't have anything but high gear. I could smoke him in high gear. I didn't have to have the other gears.
One gear. Was it old Ford box?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they weren't very strong.
Right.
Weren't very strong.
Sure.
Was there a lot of street racing that went on in Kansas City in that time frame, or?
Oh, there was some, yeah. There was some. But we've been out over in Kansas to drive in a movie and coming home with this guy on a, I don't know, 56 Chevy challenged me, and I pulled him on every light. And pretty soon he pulled up beside me and he said, "What are you running that for a transmission?" And I said, "Well, I haven't got anything but high gear."
Nice. That made him feel good. Very cool. They say that LaSalle tranny was pretty strong if you could find one back then. I guess they were kind of...
Much stronger, probably not as cheap as.
Yeah, true. Yeah, absolutely. I talked to a guy here in town that was a kind of a local street racer, drag racer, and you could buy parts by the pound at this junkyard. So they had a sledgehammer in the trunk, and they'd go in and they'd break open the Ford cases and just take the gears out of them. So they didn't have to pay for the whole training. Yeah, so that's one way to get them out, for sure.
Well, in some later years in Kansas City, you knew a guy named Rod Stookie?
I knew Rod Stookie pretty well.
Yeah, right.
He was a nephew of the guy that owned the shop.
Okay.
And he was a case, really. He was a case. If it hadn't been done, he's going to do it.
Sure.
He's done all kinds of weird things.
Very cool.
But yeah, he ran Top Fuel and toured with Chris Karamazini's and all of that. And the stories he told me my whole life about Rod Stookie and Chris Karamazini's touring just came up on the ham word for word.
Wow. Very cool. Well, great, guys. Awesome. Thanks for coming down and
Sure.
and sharing some of your stories with us and showing the interest in the car. And thank you.
Well,
Appreciate that. That was an honor, sir. Thanks for coming down and hearing you tell some stories. That's cool.
When you get away from that stuff, you kind of fades and quit thinking about it.
Right.
Fades in your mind. If you're thinking about it all the time, it kind of stays fresh.
Right.
I haven't thought about it in quite a while.
Sure. A couple of guys that are connected with this car, and they talk about the old times and how this time here, early 50s, like 52, 53, right? You're talking, you couldn't go to a catalog and buy parts. You had to make everything.
Right.
make it all.
And the gentleman owned this car in 58, I believe he bought it. Bill Hanna, then he painted it orange. It was called the Orange Crate there until the early 60s. Had a conversation with him, and he was really, passionate about the car and the good times he had with it. But it was just that same time where it was a transitioning, where it was now you had to buy all these parts to keep up with everybody. Before it was what you could make.
If you were smarter than the next guy,
You could do something without any money. When all of a sudden you got to start spending all this money. Early 60s, it kind of wasn't fun anymore.
Yeah, things changed.
And this, of course, everybody's having families then too. These guys from the 50s are married, they got kids, and they can't afford it. And so a lot of compliments of that era about how the guys really had some of the best time in their life, just going to the junkyard and finding stuff and putting it in. And there was you couldn't go buy the stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
You had to build those intakes and do your own work, and you know what I mean. It just seemed like a really cool time to be alive and be part of the sport.
One day I was driving that little Ford around, having fun. I pulled in the service station. I knew the guy, and he prided himself on being a big tune-up guy. And I said, "How about adjusting this carburetor for me?" And he opened the hood and he seen a 6.2 barrel. And he just closed it.
Sure, can only imagine. Yeah, very cool. Awesome. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much
You're welcome.
for coming down and spend the time. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
It was a kick.
Awesome. Very cool. How awesome was that? Ed comes down 66 years later, sees the car for the first time, was telling his boy about it when he was growing up and talking about this intake with the linkage. So just so cool to have them come down and tell stories, and Jeff, and talk about their dragster. That's what it's all about, is just hearing the stories and keeping this stuff alive and moving forward for the future generations. So thanks a lot for watching. Appreciate you. See you next time on South Omaha Speed. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. I'm not even sure if we have, Johnny, do we have a notification bell?
I think we do.
We do? Okay, well, if you see it out there, go and hit it. Tell your neighbors, tell your friends. We'll catch you next time. Thank you.